Buonasera, welcome Casa Italiana. My name is Chiara Basso, and I'm substituting Director Albertini tonight. He had some family problems, so he had to go to Italy. So I'm here tonight to welcome you to Casa Italiana, but also to InCinema, the first Italian all-inclusive festival. And I'm here with Federico Spoletti, the founder of the festival. Federico, come on stage.
Thank you.
So tonight we will see a delightful classic Italian movie, but we are here for more than that, just a nice movie. We are here to talk about inclusivity and to celebrate it. And I want to ask a few questions to Federico, because he's the founder of this festival. And earlier we were talking about the importance of having everybody included, and I was wondering why we are requested, rightly so, to have ramps, elevators in buildings, but nobody really cares about other type of people who cannot actually, that have other type of disability, like they cannot hear or see, like us. And as Federico said in the video, that can happen to everybody, and also at an early age. Sometimes you just go over 50 and you start having problems, and going to a movie theater become an issue. So why so, when technology is actually accessible and not even so expensive? So Federico, tell us a little bit more, for instance, about this QR code. What are they?
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. I'm very excited to be here and see a full theater full of people. So I'm a little bit emotional right now. And you're going to see 3 QRs on the screen. And one is because there is live transcription of this introduction. So if someone needs that, there is the possibility to take a picture of this QR, and it opens automatically a page where you see live transcription. And then the other 2 QRs are to download the app that allows to listen to audio description, because the film we are going to see is audio described for the people who is blind or low vision. And there are 3 different options. There is audio description in Italian for people who wants to see the film in Italian. The film is spoken in Italian, the original language. There is audio description in English. If someone knows a little bit of Italian, can read the subtitles and can listen to audio description in English. And there is a 3rd option with audio description and audio subtitles. So if you're not able to read the subtitles, there is a sort of a voiceover that go over the dialogues and allows to follow the film in English. Why did we set up this festival? As you said, there is a huge segment of audience that actually must live the magic of cinema, of films, and also the magic of a film festival. I think it's a unique experience that allows you to dive into 5 different cultures in the space of a day. And I always said that I used to be a boring tax consultant, that one day I went to a film festival and I fell in love with this experience. So now that technology, as you said, is helpful in some way.
Yeah, exactly. So can you tell us a little bit how you had the idea of creating this festival? And this is the 2nd edition. So we are here only with one movie, but there was an actual festival. So tell us a little bit, where did you go with this festival? And why did you choose this movie for Casa?
So many questions.
Many questions.
The reason why we set up the festival is that I think that there is still a need to raise awareness about the importance of experiencing culture, also for people with sensory disabilities. Is a huge segment of the audience. 1 people in 5 after 50s experience some form of sensory impairment, and they must be catered for, because culture belongs to everyone, and they must. And then the average age is growing, and so these numbers are really growing and growing. There is an interesting article published a few months ago in Forbes that try to estimate the value of the market of people with disability, and the yearly disposable income is actually more than $13 trillion. So huge numbers. But we still think that accessibility is an act of charity. That's not at all an act of charity. It's actually also a business opportunity. So I realized that in Europe and in Italy particularly, there is a lack of awareness and also a lack of interest, to be honest with you. They think that it's too expensive for what they get in return.
So who is doing better in terms of accessibility, Europe or the US?
Well, I think the US are not going. Well, of course, it depends on the comparison. I think that the UK is possibly the country more advanced under this perspective, but the legislation originally comes from the United Nations, the Convention for Persons with Disabilities. So I think that the US, in some experiences, are very good. Yeah. I'm thinking of the MoMA, I'm thinking of the Guggenheim. They are doing incredible things, and the problem is that in Europe, for example, there are a lot of organizations that try to develop something, but they don't speak to each other. That's the problem. They start from scratch every time. But there's been research for many years on these topics, and I hope they could talk together at some point. So the reason why I set up the festival, because I realized that there is need to raise awareness, and also there is a new legislation coming into force on the 28th of June this year. The new European Accessibility Act is a European directive that provides for all products and services on the European market be accessible for everyone, and also cultural projects, so also films, for
Last
example.
question about the movie. Tell us a little bit why this movie.
We included, no, let me tell you, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I need to tell you something. We had 9 different stops this year at the festival. The extension of these different stops are different depending also on the funding that we get in different places. We had some experiences with 4 or 5 days and 30 films. We had smaller stops with 1 or 2 films. And the main event that took place in Udine, which is my original town. We've been lucky enough to find a cultural counselor that understood the importance of making culture accessible to all. And we also developed a summer version open air that took place in Udine, in the mountain, in Zapata. So it's going on, and we presented the festival in Barcelona at the conference for audio description last month. So there are new experiences like that are growing, one in Poland, one in Belgium.
It's an international festival.
It's not an international festival, but we gave other organizations the idea to do that. The idea is not to set up... This
is only the second edition of this
this
festival.
is only the second edition, but we don't want to have a permanent event about films for people with disabilities. The idea is to show other festivals that it's not so difficult to make this as a standard. We want that festivals become accessible to everyone. There is an interesting survey conducted here in the US last year that investigated film festivals all over the world, and they investigated 75 film festivals, and the result was that the film festivals are actually possibly the least accessible cultural experience still now, because there is a lack of culture, in my opinion. They say it's very difficult because films come at the last moment. I understand all that, but if you plan to have subtitles, you can plan to have accessibility as well. And it's not so difficult now to have live transcription for Q&As and for master classes. So we have to start thinking in that perspective, I think.
Absolutely.
Why this film?
Absolutely.
We included this year. This year, the idea is to have a small festival, not in terms of numbers. We had 30 films, but we introduced also a competition, a short film competition, with everything accessible, of course, and a jury made of people with sensory disabilities. And and also other section, and we introduce restore prints. And one of the restore prints we introduced this year is Il Giovedì, the Thursdays, the film that we are going to see now. It's an interesting thing.
Yeah, you told me it was not very successful when he came out in Italy.
Not really successful originally. The main character is Walter Chiari, who was very popular in Italy in the 60s, very popular in television and theater, but not really... Not used to dramatic roles, and this is actually now regarded possibly as his best performance. It's a film that shows how Dino Risi was, advanced and forward-thinking in a way. We are far away from divorce.
Divorce, yes, divorce was not legal back then.
Yeah,
Separation
there was only
very rare.
The religious annulment, for wealthy people that could pay. And we see that here also the role of women is particularly interesting, I think. So we chose this also because it's newly restored by Cineteca Nazionale, Centro Sperimentale di Cinematografia, and it's really not very popular, even if, for example, Il Sorpasso by Dino Risi, that was shot 1 year before, has always been very, very popular. And this is, I think, an interesting film.
But before watching this movie, we have a little task to ask you, a very important task for Casa. So Casa, is nominated for the Webby Awards. The Webby Awards are very important awards, are sort of the Oscar of the internet. So we really ask you to make a little effort tonight. We need your help. So you need to zoom in that code. I will do it. I want to see your phones out now. And it will take you to the link. And you very spontaneously will vote for Casa Italiana. We were number 1 out of 5 nominees until last week. We are now second place. So we have only 3 days left. The last day to vote is the 17th of April. So you are around, I would say 100 in this room right now. So if everyone here votes tonight, we might go back to number 1, who knows? So if you can help us, that will... Oh, very important, don't forget you need to register. I know it's a little bit annoying, but this makes sure that the competition is actually fair. And you need to confirm your vote via email, unless you register via Google. But you have to go then in your email account, check, and that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you. And enjoy.
Thank you.